What's up everyone, welcome back to another Dirt Master 3 video, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are just right around the corner as they will be released later on this month. And so I thought it would be a good time to maybe make a speculation video on which Pokemon I think deserves an evolution the most in Scarlet and Violet. So there are many Pokemon over the years that has not gotten an evolution or has gotten a very bad evolution. And I'm here to speak on 5 Pokemon that I think should gain an evolution in Scarlet and Violet. In previous games, more specifically the Diamond and Pearl games and Gen 8, there has been a lot of new Pokemon evolutions for previous generation Pokemon that definitely deserve some evolutions. Notable ones being an evolution for Basculin, being Basculegion, an evolution for Stantler, being Weirdeer, an evolution for Ursaring, being Ursaluna, and all the Gen 4 evolutions of previous Gen Pokemon that were kind of lackluster, giving them an overall upgrade. So before I get on with the list, make sure to comment on in the comment section which Pokemon do you think deserves an evolution in Scarlet and Violet, and which Pokemon you think will actually get an evolution sometime in the future. Just like how Dunsparce has been wanted to have a evolution ever since the Generation 2 games, only for it to never get anything. Starting off the list is one of the worst Pokemon of all time, and I'm not saying that as an opinion, I'm saying that as a fact, as it is very bad in terms of battling and design. To me, I don't actually mind Sunflora, but Sunflora to many people is one of their least favorite Pokemon just for being a sunflower with a face on it. To me, I don't actually mind it. All I care about is how decent it is in battle. And when we look at Sunflora's stats, yeah, base 30 speed, base 55 defense, this thing will get a one-shot by a physical move before it can even attack. Base 105 special attack is pretty decent, but other than that, it's not really that good in any way. Sunkern even being one of the Pokemon with the lowest base stat totals, and Sunflora doesn't even get a second type to maybe get a second stat boost or even get more resistances, and I think it has a lot of potential. Its abilities, Chlorophyll and Solar Power, there are better Pokemon that uses these abilities, specifically Venusaur and Charizard for Chlorophyll for Venusaur and Solar Power for Charizard. And its hidden ability, Early Bird, is not really that special either. Honestly, Sunflora is a very lackluster Pokemon that I think deserves an evolution, not only to make it better overall, but improve its design and maybe make it usable, because right now no one wants to use a Sunflora or a Sunkern. Even if you like Sunflora, it's going to be very difficult to use him. And I think there are many possibilities that Sunflora and Sunflora evolution could get. Specifically, one that I would like to see is a Grass Fire type, because I don't think we have gotten a Grass Fire type before, and it'll be a cool typing to see, especially in a Pokemon like Sunflora, where it gets its powers from the sun and it's a sunflower. So if it becomes a powerful Grass Fire type as it evolves, completely using the power of the sun as its main gimmick, would be pretty cool. And then a boost in stats would also be pretty good for this Pokemon. Solar Power would definitely boost its attacks more if it's fire and grass. And Chlorophyll, it would actually be a pretty good Chlorophyll user if it does get the right amount of stat buffs as well as the right typing. And I could also see that it becoming bulkier, maybe not faster, as its base 30 speed is very bad, but you might see some usage in Trick Room teams if it does get an evolution that is actually good. And another possibility for Sunflora I could see is maybe Grass Poison. Pokemon Insurgents, there is a Delta Sunflora that is Fire Poison, and I really enjoyed using it. It was a very powerful offensive Pokemon, for like the earlier stages of the game. And grass poison is a type that has been done a lot already, and if it's given to Sunflora, it might not even be useful, considering Venusaur is already a better grass poison type with chlorophyll. However, it might see some usage. It might be, well, in general, it would just overall be better for Sunflora. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than just being pure grass and then evolving into nothing. Of course, they could also just go with the pure grass route and giving it better stats. But in all honesty, anything would be an improvement for Sunflora at this point. Like, Sunkern and Sunflora are really lackluster Pokemon that deserves an evolution. Well, not even deserves, they need one to actually be good. So unlike Sunflora, the next Pokemon on this list I actually am very fond of, and that is the flying grass Brachiosaurus Pokemon, Tropius. So Tropius has similar abilities to Sunflora, being chlorophyll and solar power. And like I mentioned before, there are better chlorophyll and solar power Pokemon, but its hidden ability, Harvest, is better than Sunflora's hidden ability of Early Bird. And Tropius is one of those Pokemon that does not get an evolution, yet I think it deserves an evolution. I also think it would get a really cute pre-evolution, as I'm very fond of dinosaurs. But Tropius is overall a pretty decent Pokemon. It has good moves, good dragon coverage, flying coverage, and grass coverage, as well as some other moves such as Bulldoze if you're running physical attacker, or Earthquake. And overall, what's really bringing Tropius down is its stats. A base 460 stat is kind of lackluster, especially for a Pokemon that does not evolve, as this Pokemon does have a lot of potential. I remember encountering it in the rainforest on Pokemon Omega Ruby, and it was really cool. I wanted to use one, but I already had a Sceptile on the team, so I didn't use it. But if it did get an evolution in Scarlet and Violet, I would definitely use one. And it already has the dual typing, so I think if it does get evolution, it would just improve on its design, maybe make it look bigger and stronger, as well as add to its stats, which I'm fine with. They don't have to do something over dramatic, like maybe a Amora to Aurora's style, maybe like adding on to the design more, maybe giving it some, maybe giving it a tail. I'm not sure if it has a tail, because from the pictures I've seen, I don't see it with an extraordinary long tail, which most Brachiosaurus has. Or maybe it could get some design attributes from Titanosaurus, like with the rocks on his back, or maybe even a Margosaurus, but then it will be too close to Aurora's. But yeah, overall, Tropius is one of those Pokemon that is really has a really good design, is decent but not the best, and could actually benefit from an evolution, maybe making it much more stronger and maybe actually usable, because I would like to use this on an in-game team. Grass Flying is also a really unique typing, with only Jumpluff, Shaman, Skyform, and Rowlet and Dartrix having. And even though it has a 4 times weakness to Ice, it would still be a pretty decent offensive typing combination, and might even get some usage in some teams, considering its 2 abilities of Chlorophyll and Solar Power. Could actually make it a pretty decent threat if it does have the right moveset and stats. The next Pokemon on the list is Keklion, and Keklion is one of those Pokemon that I feel like is often forgotten about, as it is more of a gimmicky Pokemon. But I've seen some fan art of Keklion online, and they look pretty cool actually. So I would actually want a Keklion evolution. Keklion doesn't have the best typing, being normal, but its gimmicky abilities, being protein and color change, is actually pretty good to get around the normal typing disadvantage, making it unpredictable, especially with protein, making it actually pretty strong, as we can see with Greninja. But something that really breaks it down, kind of like Tropius, is its base stat. Uh, Base speed of 40 is extremely slow, and it might make some usage in Trick Room teams, but honestly, if you want a protein Pokemon, Greninja is much faster and much better. It has extraordinarily high special defense and pretty decent physical attack, but it could just overall benefit more from having higher HP, higher speed, and defense, as it is pretty weak on those. Being slow means you'll probably get knocked out pretty easily as soon as you hit the field, and if you are able to predict the color change or the protein ability of Keklion, it would actually be beneficial and could actually one-shot the Keklion if they make the right predictions. And Keklion has a good moveset as well, with Shadow Claw, Foul Play, Shadow Sneak, and a lot of TM moves. You could basically run anything on it with physical or special, preferably physical because the special stat is 30 base point lower, but an evolution to Keklion, giving it higher bulk, higher speed, maybe evening out its physical and special attack, would actually benefit a lot, especially as it already has a good ability, a good moveset, with just the main drawback being its base stat and as well as its design. Its design is nothing special. It could get a improvement on that. Like I said, I've seen fan art online of Keklion evolutions, and some of them look pretty cool. And I'm already a fan of lizards in first place, and my favorite Pokemon being Sceptile. So a Keklion chameleon evolving into a bigger chameleon, possibly even gaining a secondary typing, which I don't think it will, considering its two abilities is used to change its type. But it might, you never know, because Greninja has two typings. Possibly maybe like normal dragon would actually be cool. And only Drampa, I'm pretty sure, has that typing. And Keklion with a normal dragon would actually be interesting, especially with its moveset having wide coverage and decent defense, special defense stats and physical attack stats. With so just an improvement on the base stat total and its design would make it a much better Pokemon, which is why I think this Pokemon, Keklion, would benefit a lot from an evolution, and it might even make it less forgotten. Like, look at Stantler and Girafarig. Those two are getting evolutions, and before that, they were never used. When Stantler got its evolution, it was a massive upgrade. Girafarig, now we can see it's also getting a massive upgrade. So why not Keklion as well? Let's give all the normal types that are kind of lackluster an evolution to actually make them pretty decent. And now the one that everyone is kind of expecting, we have Dunsparce. And Dunsparce, like Keklion, is a normal type, but unlike Keklion, it doesn't have an ability to change its typing. Instead, it has Serene Grace, Runaway, and Rattled. Runaway is kind of a waste of an ability during competitive battling, but it's not that bad in terms of in-game playthroughs, as you can just easily run away from Pokemon. But preferably Serene Grace or Rattled is the ability that you'll most likely want on your Dunsparce, especially Serene Grace. But it doesn't help Dunsparce that much, considering it is already pretty weak in terms of stats. Base 415 base stat total, with 45 speed, making it super slow. With all the other stats from attack, defense, special attack, special defense being below average, and HP being its only decent stat. And considering its low defensive stats and especially low speed stat, it will most likely get one or two shot no matter what. And Dunsparce is a pretty cool Pokemon as well. It is extremely rare in most games, having to search far and wide to get it, and its origins being based on the Noko of Japanese mythology, or very rare serpent-like Pokemon making it actually making sense to be that rare. What is actually pretty interesting, and people who have speculated and made fan art of Dunsparce's evolution ever since it came out, with Dunsparce being a dragon, being a serpent of some kind. And if Keklion doesn't get a normal dragon type evolution, then Dunsparce makes more sense to get the normal dragon type evolution, as it could go from a land snake Pokemon to maybe a sky snake Pokemon, a serpent of some kind. Yet normal dragon, normal flying would probably be more likely for Dunsparce, considering it also has wings that it can't even use to fly. And maybe some other typing, like maybe pure normal, but like an improvement on stats and moveset would actually be pretty good as well. It already has a pretty decent moveset, with like coverage moves such as Droll Run, Dragon Rush, Rock Slide, especially paired with Serene Grace, some setup moves, and a lot of TMs, and a lot of good natural stab as well, with moves such as Double Edge and other support moves like Yawn, Endeavor, and Roost, making this Pokemon actually pretty decent if it has better stats and a better design, because its design is kind of lackluster. It could benefit so much from an evolution to improve its design and its base stat to make it more usable and more balanced. So this is why many people want Dunsparce especially to have a new evolution. And honestly, it would be number 1 on this list as well, because I am also a big fan of of Dunsparce having an evolution, and I'm a big supporter of that. But there's one more Pokemon that I believe deserves an evolution more than Dunsparce. And now, before we get on to the final Pokemon on this list, I'd like to mention some honorable mentions, starting with Luvdisc. Luvdisc should have really evolved into Alomomola. Maybe if you give Alomomola higher stats, a better moveset, Luvdisc would have actually benefited if it evolves into Alomomola. I know it's not exactly based on the same creature, but we have Remoraid evolving into Octillery, a fish evolving into an octopus, so it wouldn't make that much, like it wouldn't be that weird, honestly. They both are pink fish with the same shape, so it would actually make a lot of sense for it to evolve into an Alomomola. Second Pokemon, Maractus. I feel like if it evolves, it will just be more of a feminine version of Cacturn, so I think that's why it's not getting an evolution. Cryogonal, because when I was thinking of this list, Cryogonal was initially going to be on the list, but I couldn't think of any evolution possibilities for Cryogonal other than make it stronger, because I can't really think of any design additions it could really have, really. Next Pokemon, Shuckle. The reason why I don't think Shuckle should get an evolution, even though it really deserves one, is because if it does get an evolution, if you have Eevee on Shuckle, it will be the bulkiest thing alive, and no one will be able to take it out. Just imagine Eevee Shuckle, because it got an evolution. This is why you shouldn't get an evolution. Tauros, similar reason to Luvdisc, it should have evolved into Bouffalant. If you give Bouffalant maybe higher stats and better moveset, Tauros would have made sense to evolve into Luvdisc. But Tauros is already a powerful Pokemon in itself, so even if it doesn't evolve, it's still actually pretty usable. Well, in Gen 1 mostly, but also Anger Point Tauros is really strong. Komala, because Komala could have evolved into a big angry koala type creature that I would definitely use on a team, and it's another one of those normal types that really could benefit from an evolution. But all in all, Komala is already a very cool Pokemon. Other than its stats and moveset, I think it should stay the same. But if it does get an evolution, a boost on its stats and moveset would actually be beneficial for it. But I don't think it will get an evolution until maybe an Australia based game where it might get an evolution or a regional variant. And lastly, Pincurchin, because I feel like if it does get an evolution, it would actually be really strong, and or Eevee Pinkerton would also just be generally pretty strong. It's just that it looks really weak in terms of design, even though it's not, and its stats are decent but could have an improvement, which is why I think Pinkerton should have also deserved their evolution, but I think it would be too strong if it does get one. And now, without further ado, let's move on to the final Pokemon that I think deserves an evolution the most. Finally, the final Pokemon that I think deserves an evolution the most in Scarlet and Violet is Eevee. And we haven't had an evolution for a long time. It's been almost 3 generations. Once Scarlet and Violet come out, it would actually be 3 Pokemon generations where we did not get a new evolution since Sylveon. And even before Sylveon, we haven't got one for 2 generations, which was Glaceon and Leafeon. And even before that, we didn't get one for another 2 generations, being Umbreon and Espeon. And I think there should be an evolution every single type, because there are so many Pokemon types that would actually make good evolution typings, and they are just not being used. I don't know what Game Freak's problem is with not giving Eevee more evolutions, considering it is the evolution Pokemon. When you think of Pokemon evolution, you think of Eevee, or if you think of branch evolutions, you think of Eevee. And Eevee could not really benefit because all the evolutions are good in the first place, but it would just be cool to see a bug type Eevee, or a dragon type Eevee, or a cool fighting type Eevee, flying type Eevee, ghost type Eevee. I made Fakemon of ghost and flying type Eevees, and I was really proud of both of them with how they turned out, especially the ghost type one called Yokion. But I feel like Game Freak would do a much better job, and they could definitely make more evolutions. Like, I don't think they should do evolutions every generation, maybe like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 every 2 generations, every 4 generations. No, just every 2 generations, because that's how the pattern was really going until they didn't release another evolution in the Sword and Shield games. But there are so many typings that just need an evolution: bug, dragon, fighting, ghost, flying, ground evolution, normal type evolution, poison type, steel type, and rock type. These are all the typings that there's no evolution for, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity not to get another evolution. I'm a big supporter of a Dunsparce evolution, but I'm an even bigger supporter of another Eevee evolution, because evolutions are some of the best Pokemon. They're some of my favorite Pokemon, with Glaceon, Jolteon being some of my all-time favorite Pokemon. And I think, we're long overdue for another evolution, and I think it's about time that they bring in a new evolution, possibly a Dragon-type evolution, to balance out Sylveon, that could be the counterpart of Sylveon, as well as the Dragon-themed future, past and future generation theme of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or maybe a futuristic Steel type versus a prehistoric Rock or Ground type. That would actually be pretty cool for an evolution. There are so many different possibilities with evolutions in Pokemon, and they could do so much, but I don't know why they're not doing it. Eevee definitely deserves an evolution for every single type, and I will keep fighting for it. I'll keep supporting it until it does get an evolution for every single type. I think the highest chance of Eevee getting an evolution is when a new typing will be introduced, kind of like Fairy, and Eevee evolution for that new typing would definitely be the mascot for that typing. I could say, but maybe until then, I just need a Dragon type Eevee. I need a Bug type Eevee. Honestly, any evolution would do. Just make a new evolution, please, Game Freak. And that's all for today. Those are just 5 Pokemon that I think personally deserves an evolution the most in Scarlet and Violet. Maybe they won't get it in Scarlet and Violet, but they should definitely get an evolution in future games. We can see Pokemon benefiting a lot from new evolutions like Stantler, Basculin, and Girafarig, and a lot of the Gen 4 Pokemon that evolved from previous generation Pokemon that were kind of lackluster. And I think this generation of Pokemon should definitely bring out more evolutions for previous generation Pokemon that were lackluster, maybe to bring them back into the spotlight, kind of like Girafarig. And out of all of these Pokemon, which one do you think are the most likely to get an evolution? Personally, I think possibly Dunsparce or Eevee are the most likely ones to get an evolution. But what do you all think? And in the comment section below, like I said before, what Pokemon do you think deserves an evolution the most in Scarlet and Violet, and why? And I really hope these Pokemon get an evolution, considering the games are only a few weeks away, and there are going to be so many different new Pokemon added into the game that hasn't been revealed yet. I can't wait to see them for myself, and I really wish one of them at least would be an evolution of the Pokemon mentioned on this list. But until then, we can only wait. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said in previous videos, all your support really does help, and it will motivate me to keep on producing videos and releasing them. Just in general, thank you all so much for your support on the past few videos. It really means a lot. And until next time, thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.